Good morning, Year 3. Welcome to the final week of the term and welcome to our first English lesson of the week. This week we're going to do lots of recapping, reviewing, all things to do with reading and writing. So let's get started, and the ally today is to review reading and writing features. So of course be prepared, get your pencil and paper and use the pause button when you need to. We're going to have a series of quizzes which will make up at least half of the lesson, and we'll mark each quiz after each slide. So the quiz that you're about to have is related to adjectives. Find the adjectives in the sentence. The sound of the drill was terribly loud. Is it number 1, sound, number 2, drill, number 3, terribly, or number 4, loud? So remember, find the adjectives in the sentence. Number 2, find the adjectives in the sentence. The forest was dark and spooky. Is it number 1, the and was, number 2, forest, spooky, number 3, was, and, or number 4, dark, spooky? Find the adjectives in the sentence. The frightened little dog couldn't stop shivering. Is it number 1, frightened little, number 2, little, dog, number 3, couldn't, shivering, or number 4, stop shivering? And number 4, find the adjectives in the sentence. The tattered blue dress hung on the abandoned washing line. So, is it number 1, the blue on, number 2, tattered blue abandoned, or number 3, dress hung washing line, or number 4, on the abandoned? Which do you think it is? Right, that's the first 4 in the quiz. So let's mark number 1. The adjectives in the sentence. The sound of the drill was terribly loud, and the adjective was, did you get it? Remember, it's a describing word. So it'd be terribly and loud. Number 2, find the adjectives in the sentence. The forest was dark and spooky. It's number 4, dark and spooky, because they describe what the night was like, or what it was like in the forest. Number 3, the frightened little dog couldn't stop shivering. So if you got number 1, frightened describes how the puppy felt, and little describes the size of the puppy, so it's number 1. And the last one, the tattered blue dress hung on the abandoned washing line. So it'd be number 2, tattered, blue, and abandoned. How did you do? Are you up to scratch with knowing your adjectives? Let's move to quiz number 2. This is all to do with alliteration. I'm not going to tell you about alliteration. Hopefully you're going to remember. This is a recap, so I'm not going to help you recall what is alliteration. You'll probably notice it once I start reading out the examples. Choose the words which are examples of alliteration. So you need the something city, the to something victory. So could you put in there Norwich stalked total, or do you put in Stoke crept surprising? That's number 2. Number 3, Manchester swept astonishing, or is it number 4, Swansea swept sweet? Do you remember what alliteration is? So find the missing words to complete the example of alliteration. The something is something something and tall in my something. So is it number 1, flower, standing, proud, vase? Or number 2, tree, growing, strong, garden? Number 3, grass, growing, green, garden? Or number 4, rose bush, becoming, gangly, flower bed? Let's move to number 3. The traffic moves slowly, the something something and something over the narrow bridge. Is it number 1, motorbikes whizzing, shooting? Number 2, cars trundling, driving? Number 3, lorries labouring, lumbering? Or number 4, lorries moving, driving? Choose the words which are examples of alliteration. The guinea pigs' names were something, something, and something. Is it number 1, or number 2, or number 3, or number 4? Oops, I made a mistake there. There's only 4. I've got to go back. Can I go back? Oh dear. Okay, let's mark alliteration. So all the words have to start with the same letter, so it's going to be number 4, Swansea, swept, and sweet. And for number 2, all the words have to start with the same letter or sound, as is the other option of defining what alliteration is. Grass, growing, green, garden is number 3. And number 3 is number 3. Lorries, labouring, lumbering. And the last one, number 4, be number 2, furry, fluffy, floppy. How are you doing? Have you managed to get 8 out of 8 so far? Or even 7 out of 8? Which is still very good. 6 out of 8? That's still good. 5 out of 8? Well, it's only just okay. Now we're going to do apostrophes of possession. Do you remember apostrophes of possession? We did 2 types a while ago. Let's see how much you can recall. So it landed with a thud. The waves of the sea were very rough that day. The something waves were very rough. Is it number 1, or number 2, or number 3, or number 4? They all have an apostrophe. It's just you need to decide which word has the correct use of the apostrophe of possession. So the sweets belong to the teachers. They are the teachers' sweets. So which one do you select? Is it number 1, number 2, number 3, or is it number 4? The blankets belong to the babies. They are the babies' blankets. So is it number 1, or number 2, or number 3, or number 4? And the final one, the apron belongs to the chef. Oh dear, I cut that off. Okay, the picture helps you decide which one you should choose. You may have noticed something about images. Okay, is it number 1, or number 2, or number 3, or number 4? Let's mark. So number 1, you can see there's only one, it's singular, so it's the C would be the singular. So we need to have C and then apostrophe S. So it's number 4, because here the waves belong to the sea. Number 2, now there's more than one sweet. Sorry, there's more than one teacher here. So you would need to start with teachers to begin with before you think about the apostrophe. So they are the teachers' sweets. It is number 2. And here there's more than one baby, it's babies. So they are the babies' blankets. And so you got to look for the word babies, and then you put an apostrophe at the end. So it's number 4. And then the last one, the apron belongs to the chef. It's only one chef. So you're going to have the word chef, then an apostrophe, followed by the letter S. So it's number 3. How are you doing? Anyone with 12 out of 12? 11 out of 12, still very good. 10 out of 12, it's pretty good. Let's move to the next phase. Right, this quiz is on clauses and phrases. I'll remind you about clauses and phrases. A clause is really a sentence or a statement that can stand on its own. It makes sense. And a phrase, if you wrote it down, it wouldn't make sense by itself. Whereas a clause does make sense by itself. So let's see if you can pick it up. Right, find the clause in the sentence. Remember, a clause could make a complete sentence on its own. Before lunch, I will finish reading my book. So which one is the clause? Number 1, before lunch. Or number 2, before lunch I will. Or number 3, I will finish reading my book. Or is it number 4, finish reading my book? Let's move on. Number 2. The goalkeeper eyed the striker, leaning forward intently. Is it number 1, the goalkeeper? So we're looking for the clause. Or is it number 2, the goalkeeper eyed the striker? Or number 3, leaning forward? Or number 4, leaning forward intently? Let's move to the next one. You need to find a clause. Remember, a clause could make a complete sentence on its own. Tired of practicing, she quietly closed the lid of the piano. So, is it number 1, tired of practicing? Number 2, of practicing? Number 3, of practicing, she quietly closed? Or is it number 4, she quietly closed the lid of the piano? And the last one. Remember, a clause could make a complete sentence on its own. Over the fields and through the woods the deer ran. Is the clause number 1, over the fields? Or number 2, through the woods? Or number 3, over the fields and through the woods? Or is it number 4, the deer ran? Right, we can mark the clauses. So number 1, it'll be number 3. I will finish reading my book. Number 2, it's number 2. The goalkeeper eyed the striker. And number 3 is number 4. She quietly closed the lid of the piano. And the last one is number 4. The deer ran. How are you doing? That's 16. Anyone with 16? 15 out of 16? 14 out of 16? They would be really good marks. 13 out of 16? It's still pretty good. Okay, connectives and conjunctions. They're very similar. So you know about conjunctions. We've done quite a bit on conjunctions, the coordinating and subordinating conjunctions. So read the sentence and find the connectives and conjunctions. So just find the conjunction. We'll forget about using the word connective. Just go for the the conjunction, because you're more familiar with that word. We bought some new clothes and we saw a film. Number 2, we could always play a board game if the rain doesn't stop. And number 3, He began to feel hungry, so he decided to make a sandwich. So you're choosing 1, 2, 3, or 4. And last of all, as well as cycling, Helen enjoys playing badminton on her day off. So are you ready to mark? So number 1, did you spot the coordinating conjunction? It's number 3. And number 2, we could always play a board game if the rain doesn't stop. It's number 3, if. He began to feel hungry, so he decided to make a sandwich. The conjunction is so, which is it a subordinating conjunction? It is. So it's number 1, so. And last of all, as well as cycling, Helen enjoys playing badminton on her own. So is it number 1, as well as, or number 2, enjoys, or number 3, on? It's at the very beginning, this one, as well as. That is the conjunction, as well as. So how are you doing? That is 20. If you've got at least 15 out of 20, that's pretty good. I would say that's good. And if you've got more than 15, 16 to 18, 16, 17 or 18, that would be very good. And of course, if you got 19 or 20, that would be excellent. So I hope you feel satisfied that you have done yourself proud by remembering all of these different features of English and reading. So we've got the final quiz questions, and then we're moving on to something different. So direct speech, remember, direct speech is to do with inverted commas, or what do we call them? Yes, speech marks. So you need to look very carefully here. So read the sentence. How should it be written as direct speech? Choose the correct option. Declan said he thought we could see the fireworks better from the top of the hill. So is it number 1? Excitedly, Declan shouted, "We'll be able to see the fireworks from the top of the hill." Or is it number 2? Excitedly, Declan shouted, "We'll be able to see the fireworks better from the top of the hill." Or is it number 3? Excitedly, Declan shouted, "We'll be able to see the fireworks better from the top of the hill." Now remember, you need to look at all the punctuation in order to decide which one this is. And number 4, excitedly, Declan shouted, "We'll be able to see the fireworks better from the top of the hill." Okay, so we're going to mark this one just so that you're very clear about what we should see. Okay, so if we look at number 1, excitedly, an adverb, also fronted adverbial. Declan shouted, so after shouted we should have a comma, but there's, oops, I'm going to go back. Oops, what's going on here? Okay, so there's no comma after shouted, so it can't be number 1. Number 2, excitedly, comma, Declan shouted, comma, and then it opens with speech marks, which is really good. But unfortunately, Declan is starting a new sentence. It should be a capital W. So it's not number 2. Number 3, excitedly, Declan shouted, comma, open speech marks, wheel, and it's done with a capital W, which is perfect. We'll be able to see the fireworks better from the top of the hill. And there's an exclamation mark after hill, and then close speech marks. So in this case, it's number 3. Why is it not number 4? Because Declan shouted is in the inverted commas. That's incorrect. So it's number 3. Now you will have a clear idea of what you should be looking for. Right, Gareth said he couldn't believe the Blues had lost the game. So Gareth said he couldn't believe the Blues had lost the game. Is it number 1? I can't believe the Blues lost the game, Gareth complained. Or is it number 2? I can't believe the Blues lost a game, Gareth complained. Or number 3, I can't believe the Blues lost the game, Gareth complained. Or is it number 4? I can't believe the Blues lost the game, Gareth complained. So once again, you're looking for the correct punctuation and the correct location for the speech marks. Did you find it? It's number 3, because it opens with the speech marks because Gareth is speaking. I can't believe the Blues lost the game, exclamation mark, close the speech marks, Gareth complained, full stop. So it's number 3. We're just going to do these 2 and then we'll mark them after we've completed them. So you need to look at this. Sanjay said he was very disappointed that it was raining again. So have a look at number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Press the pause button if you need to. And I'm going to move on. Last one. Rianne asked if she could play the game. Is it number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? I'm going to give you 10 seconds to finish off those last 2. Okay, we're ready to go. So, for Sanjay said he was very disappointed that it was raining again. It's number 4. So Sanjay in speech marks with an exclamation mark. Sanjay said, comma, speech marks, it's another day of rain, full stop, and then speech marks. And number 4, did you spot it? He is asking a question, so you've got to have a question mark. So it is number 4. So you got speech marks, can I play the game, question mark, close the speech marks, Rianne asked, full stop. So how have you done? That is 24. Brilliant, amazing if you got 24 out of 24. That's quite a tough one to do. Anything between 20 and 23, still great. Not excellent, but very good. And let me see now. 17 to 20, still good. And to be honest, if you got less than 17, between 14 and 17, still pretty good. Anyone who got lower than that, you have work to do. We're going to be doing these quizzes all week. Right, so what's going to come next? It's poetry. And you're going to look at a poem where alliteration is used. So, 1 overweight ox, 2 timid tortoises, 3 thriving tarantulas, 4 fierce fish, 5 fearless flamingos. So you know about alliteration? They all begin, each word begins with the same sound or letter. The numbers that you choose for this poetry, because your task is to write your own poem using alliteration, in there, can you use a simile and a metaphor? I'm going to say not all the words need to start with the same sound or letter. So you can use a simile, and you may use the sound or the letter in the simile, but you won't need to necessarily do it twice, like, you know, as huge as a whatever starts with H, as huge as a house. Now, you choose the numbers that you want to work with. It could be 7, 8, 10, 15. It's up to you. You don't need to stick with what I have here as an example. So use your imagination. For those who think they could do something a bit more challenging, this is creating a sentence using alliteration. 1 overweight ox overate outrageously. 2 timid tortoises tiptoed tidily. 3 thriving tarantulas tickled their trainer. 4 fierce fish fought ferociously. And 5 freed flamingos fled in a flap. Now that would be more of a challenge. You're welcome to try it. Be interesting to see how you do. If you can put a simile or a metaphor in the poem, that would be amazing. So that's your first task. You only need to do one of them. You either do the first type of poem or the second. You do not need to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You select the numbers that you'd like to use. If you prefer not to use numbers, that's not a problem. So there are some topics here you might focus on. Maybe your topic will be about people, or fruit, or vegetables, or an imaginary creature, or something in the library, in the supermarket, under the floorboards, in the ocean, under my bed, in the haunted house. It's completely up to you. So one poem, choose the level of challenge that you would like to have a go at. And lastly, we have our Cinquain poem, which you are familiar with, but I will go over it again. We've got fire, poker hot, blazing, flickering, scorching, thrusting, dangerous to meddle with. So how do we create this Cinquain poem? Well, the first word is a noun. Fire is a naming word. It's a noun. The 2 words in the line 2 are 2 adjectives. Poker hot, blazing. They describe what the fire is like. Hot, blazing. And line 3 has 3 verbs. So they're action doing words. Flickering, scorching, thrusting. And the last line, line 4, dangerous to meddle with. It's a phrase about the noun, which is the fire. So, of course, yeah, it is dangerous to meddle with fire. And that's as difficult as it gets. So, suggested topics, the ones down below, could be about the wind, the bully, a scarecrow, rock pool noise, guide dog, Disneyland, explorer, pen, athlete, teacher, lawyer, rock singer. It's up to you. Choose the topic that you want to focus on. And that will be your task. So you've got 2 poems, the alliteration poem, and you have the Cinquain poem. So that's your task number 2. I look forward to seeing your work. Thank you once again for participating, for watching, listening, and when you're ready, email your final piece of work to yr3@grange.harrow.sch.uk. Thank you very much, everyone. I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care. Have an enjoyable day. Bye for now.